Well, we've all seen the bad behaviour in Parliament, haven't we, from the politicians? The language, the behaviour, not acting according to the rules. And one politician who's been in there for 46 years, I think it is, says that the House of Representatives has become a house of chaos. That's Winston Peters. We speak to him. Well, joining me is the Deputy Prime Minister, Winston Peters. Winston, welcome to McBlog again. I did actually Google just before we started this interview and realised that you entered Parliament in 1979. So you've had 46 years. 46.
Sorry, I came to Parliament on 24 May 1979 after a 6 months successful electoral petition case. But my constitutional time is dated back to the election of 1978. So that's when I entered Parliament, 1978.
Well, that's why you never trust AI. So thank you for that correction. Okay, well, that means I wrote it down on my hand, 47 years you've seen,
Yes.
the behaviour in Parliament. I guess based on what we've seen over the last 24, 48 hours, but even before that, and we will cover that with Te Pāti Māori, but has the behaviour been gradually deteriorating in Parliament in your view, or has it sped up just in the last, decade or even in the last electoral cycle?
Look, for all those years, decades and decades, the understanding was that Parliament is a place where there is a legitimate raging battle of all sides with respect to political power, putting their views, putting their manifestos. That's all understood. But when Mallard became the Speaker in 2017 and onwards, unbeknown to us, he completely changed the place and the standards began to collapse. And be fair to Adrian Ruafy, when he got the job on Mallard's going off to Ireland, why he went to Ireland as an ambassador is beyond me either, but that's the way things were. Then the new Speaker, Adrian, put on a far better performance. Adrian Ruafy tried to restore order better, but what had set in, the standards of dress or the lack of standards of dress had set in, and now it's got seriously worse. People there sometimes have been seen there in bare feet, cardigans on, shirts, no ties, just not a matter of snobbery or anything other than, as Mihari, the former Labour minister, said in an article he wrote to the New Zealand Herald, that if you don't have standards in all other types of protocols and conventions collapse as well, and you're so right. So it's not just a view that I hold, he holds that as well.
And so, we were concerned when Trevor Mallard changed the opening prayer and removed "in Jesus' name" at the end of it. But
yes.
Are you saying that really, because I can remember Tau Henare and Trevor Mallard having fisticuffs outside Parliament. That would have been before Trevor Mallard was the Speaker of the House. So there has always been bad behaviour. It is a robust place to be, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. But bad behaviour has brought consequences because political parties discipline those members, and the Parliament overarching that disciplines them as well. But you've got today a new type of standard where if they don't agree, they just shout and scream. The quality of debate has seriously declined. A lot of people are reading their speeches from their phone or their laptop. This is just totally outrageous. And so the constituency out there needs to understand that you've been sending people here who are ill-equipped, and worse still, know so little about the standing orders or the Speaker's rulings, which are the precedents under which our behaviour is adjudged and determined. And it's nothing that is complicated. People need to know how the system works. Every organisation I know, every calling I know has certain behavioural standards, and Parliament's no different.
Okay, I want to come back to just the punishment that was given to Te Pāti Māori in a second, but just in terms of what happened yesterday, and I've seen the image of you just putting your head in your hands, and I think most of New Zealand did. I think from my perspective, I think I understand Brooke Van Velden, the ACT MP's frustration, wanting to push back against the misogyny from another female journalist, ironically. But at the same time, I was disappointed that she had to use the offensive word that we all found offensive, and that we were complaining about the tackiness and the grubbiness of the actual opinion piece. I mean, would you be on the same page that you agreed with what Brooke Van Velden was saying in principle, but she overstepped the mark?
I couldn't believe that she used the word, frankly, because now it's on the Hansard record. And even today, the Speaker gave an opportunity for that to change, but it wasn't used. He suggested that she might want to, do something about that, but it wasn't taken up. So, I just was horrified because that's as low as you can go. Now, where do you go now?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just that an article was written by Andrea Vance. It was a shocking, disgusting article using a shocking language. I can only imagine that she was 3 sheets of the wind when she wrote that last bit. That Tracy Watkins and Dom didn't get to see it. That's my view. She couldn't have seen it, the Dom post. And even though she's standing behind her, but at least some of the gallery, well, not some of the gallery, most of the gallery know this is really bad.
Yeah.
They've not said so because they try to be unified with their journalistic colleague, but it's just unacceptable.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and I
actually
was
complained. I complained to Tracy Watkins, the editor of the Sunday Star Times. Her response was that it had gone through senior editors. It had been specifically approved. So, I mean, I've told the New Zealand Media Council in our appeal that was their response, and they just basically said, we've used it before, and this is a respected journalist, and nothing to see here. But I think, as I said, many New Zealanders are just horrified. And I think, in fairness, Giantonetti from Labor, by opening up the can of worms yesterday, Labor, I mean, I wonder whether they've scored an own goal, because they've taken the whole focus off the actual issue of pay equity and put it on to an offensive word. So is that an own goal for them?
Well, the whole scenario on both sides screams a lack of experience. We're still a lack of judgment. And as for Tracy Watkins, well, with respect, a few years ago, they said the very reverse about such language. They were condemning such language a few years ago. And all of a sudden, I can only imagine she's standing behind Andrea Vance because she happens to be in that position. I don't know why, but I don't believe, even now, that Tracy saw that article before it went to print.
It's not the first swear word that's been in Parliament, though, is it? I mean, it is one of the most offensive words, according to the BSA, the Broadcasting Standards Authority surveys. But it's not the first time that people have used foul language in the House, is it?
No, it's not, but it's never been acceptable. And besides which, I mean, the average 9-year-old knows more words than Shakespeare did. So if you've got to swear, it means you don't understand the very language you're meant to be skilled at.
Very good point. Okay, just while I've got you, Te Pāti Māori. So they did the haka as the part of the first reading of the Treaty's Principles Bill. They got up, and it was felt to be intimidatory to David Seymour. There was an earlier incident where Julianne Genter from the Greens got out of her chair, went across to Matt Ducey, the National MP, and sort of, yelled at him and said, "Have you read the report?" And she basically just got censored. So why the difference between the yelling over another MP and three that do the haka? What was the difference?
Well, the moment that Julianne Genter faced a Privilege Committee hearing, she apologised without reservation for her behaviour. And that was seen by the fellow parliamentarians to be enough, in the same way as Pena Henare did. But not Te Pāti Māori. They decided to treat the committee from the beginning to the end without a contempt. And this morning on Morning Report, their lawyer, if she is a lawyer, dropped a minute and said, no, they did it on purpose, even though the Maori vote had not been counted. In short, she admitted that they interrupted the count and delayed it for 29, 30 minutes on purpose. So whatever defense they had, it was collapsed right then. Yeah. But this is the person who was claiming or begrudging the fact that she wasn't allowed to come to the Privilege Committee. And the answer is, no, you were allowed to come, but you weren't going to come on your own terms. You weren't going to come along or collectively. You're going to face the committee as every other person has in the past, as the committee requests you one by one. They thought they'd impose their own behaviour, their own standards, and then talk about a thing called tikanga, which they sought to apply, when every iwi has got its own tikanga and some multi-tikanga within that iwi. So which one should we apply right here, right now? You see the difference between this academic binge about how the world's like to be versus factual reality and history.
So it seems like it's not just the language in Parliament that's deteriorating, it's also the behaviour, the adherence to acceptable rules. I mean, I've always been amazed watching Parliament that a ding on the bell means that a person's got to sit down and shut up. I mean, I wish we could use that at some conferences that I go to, but it's just always amazed me that politicians are held to that standard. Once that bell goes, they have to stop speaking. But the behaviour and the language seems to have deteriorated. And I mean, can it be brought back to a respectable standard, or is this the new norm?
No, it's not going to be the new norm. We're in danger if we do not arrest this of rapidly, descending into a form of anarchy. So the message that we're sending out is it has to be arrested and has to be arrested now. See, Te Pāti Māori came along today. This is a Tauranga piece of legislation that goes all the way back to 1980, and I was a member of Parliament back then, not from Tauranga, but I began involved in this case way back all those years ago, 45 years ago. But he gets up when it's all every other party had spoken and seeks a 5-minute extension. Not part of the rules. They all had we all had the same time, same allocated time, but he wanted 5 minutes extension, and then turned the whole thing into sort of a racial diatribe, and that was very sad. But our response is to the Te Pāti Māori and others is, out in the Māori world, they themselves are changing. The Māori leadership at the iwi tribal level is not going to accept this. All the signs are that they know that this has gone too far too badly on the wrong direction in their name. And then you've got all those Māori who are working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 60, 70 hours a week, who are sick and tired of these performers and, dare I say it, pretenders to be their spokespeople. There'll be a change, and it's coming now.
Okay, so just finally, can we expect the standard of what happens in the House to rise? I mean, got some interesting characters in Parliament.
Yes, I think you can expect the standards to rise because some members of Parliament, not just New Zealand First, but some of us are saying this is far, far too deteriorated for our liking. This is in danger of making us an international laughingstock where democracy is concerned. And we're going to do something about it right here, right now.
All right. Really appreciate your time, Winston Peters. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.